It hit me a few hours.
And the prisoner transport detail.
When I was a kid, I used to go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. The St. Charles Boxing Club in Harlem. I wasn't planning to be a boxer. I was just learning how to defend myself. Since then, I've trained in karate, judo, and other martial arts. You just never know what you're going to come up against. You might be mentally ready, but that's not the same as being physically ready. And when you are mentally and physically ready, criminals have a little more respect for you. And that's where it's at.
Nice day for a ride in the country.
How you doing, Dan?
Not bad, not bad. Say hello to Mr. Broccoli. He'll be traveling with us today. Mr. Broccoli, says Marshal Scott. Get in, Bill.
Ben Ricks and I have been assigned to transport 3 prisoners to Manhattan. Broccoli was one of them. We was picking up the other 2 in Danbury, Connecticut. A U.S. Marshal's responsibilities are very broad. You can do a court assignment one day, witness security the next. Today, we are transporting federal prisoners.
Bill, you're in pretty good shape, man. You still doing that martial arts thing?
Yeah, I work at it.
Man, I say you either into that stuff or you not. Different strokes.
Hell, I'm just trying to keep ahead of the competition. See, the bad guys are learning it. Good guys gotta learn it too.
Oh, man, now you're making me feel bad. I spend my spare time playing the saxophone.
What do you think? Want a little sax work on the street with you guys?
At that time, the requirement was to use your personal vehicle to transport prisoners, no matter how far, no matter how dangerous. Government vehicles were not available. They changed that rules a few years later. But that day, we used Rick's Cadillac. There would be 5 of us, and it had a lot of room, front and back.
Look, I'll get Marshall and Selena. Just stretch your legs for a minute.
Sure.
Hey, man, look, I've done the paperwork. It's easier if I go in.
At that time, the procedure for transporting prisoners was one deputy would drive and other would sit directly behind him. The prisoner would sit in the back seat behind the deputy. If there wasn't enough room, he would put the least dangerous criminal in the front seat. One was named Selena. The other was Robert Marshall. I've seen Marshall before. He was considered extremely dangerous.
Hold it. Bill, put McCoy in front.
If you're gonna play musical chairs, I should warn you, I get real mad if I lose.
Shut up, Marshall.
All right. Get in. Get in.
Would you talk that tough if I didn't have these on?
Get in.
When I was trained in Japan, I found that criminals had more respect for cops, respect for their knowledge and abilities. We don't get that here. Generally, criminals here don't think cops are capable of handling themselves. And when a criminal thinks he can take you, he's anxious to try it.
How you doing back there?
I was just thinking how fast that was in Danbury.
Yeah, they had the paperwork done and ready. I couldn't believe it.
Probably want to get rid of these guys real fast.
Yeah. I will have these boys in on time or better.
Damn right.
His weapon went in deep, between my liver and my gallbladder. I didn't know it then. I didn't even know what it was. I only knew I was in a great deal of pain. Then Marshall leaned on me and began hitting me. Selena climbed over the seat, pressing him up against the steering wheel.
Saturday at 4 on WB.
Really wanted, but
For live better.
Ben was doing everything he could to keep the gun away from him and still keep the car on the road. Broccoli decided the most destructive thing he could do was to start beating on Ben.
Get the damn gun! They can't! They roll the car!
The car was going back and forth. I knew that Ben was going to lose control of it, or his gun, or both. I knew I had to focus myself physically and mentally to take action, and I had to do it fast. I leaned forward in my seat to get Marshall off of me. I hit him in the trachea. It's a karate blow. Then I choked him right where I hit him. It cuts off the oxygen. In a few seconds, he was unconscious. I used the same routine as Selena. Pull, hit, choke. With Broccoli, I was a little less sophisticated.
You all right, Ben? Yeah, I think so. All right, we got a state trooper here. Yeah, I see him.
Back in those days, most of the state troopers looked like they came out of mold. They were about 6'4" and muscular, and most of them were white. That turned out to be our next problem.
I don't know what the hell you guys think you're doing, but...
Look out! He's got a gun! Black guy grabbing, he's got a gun! Shut up!
We are U.S. Marshals. My name is Scott. He's Rick. We're transporting these prisoners to Manhattan.
They kidnapped us! He's got a gun! He's got a gun!
Shut up and sit back right now. We are U.S. Marshals. We have ID. You can check our ID.
These are not police ID cards.
Don't listen to him! They're kidnapping us! Shut up! Lying!
We have a little different ID. We're from the Eastern District. We are U.S. Marshals. You go check. We'll keep our hands where you can see them.
Everybody just sit tight.
I was so pumped up with adrenaline from the fight that I actually forgot about the pain in my stomach. And now I had to deal with the problem that the state trooper was giving me. But the trooper just was following procedure. We were in a civilian car, wearing civilian clothes with ID that he didn't recognize. I would have done the same thing.
Roger, thanks. Sorry. I had to check it out. You understand?
Yeah.
I'll escort you.
Thanks.
Ben was really shaken up. We got the prisoners in Manhattan. I was in the hospital for a few months. There were complications from the wound, and they eventually had to move my gallbladder. You got to be ready before the life throws at you. I learned that way back when I started coming to St. Charles. I seen kids' lives messed up with drugs and violence. I told some of them to train their minds and body. This is not the life you want. The world offers you more than this. I've said, you can become a doctor, you can become a lawyer, you can become a judge, you can even become a cop.
Top Cops returns in a moment with the aftermath of these stories.
The following iHeart batteries.
Here's a Top Cop safety tip. When responding to an emergency, be sure to first take a careful assessment of the situation so that you do not become a victim yourself. Only after you determine that everything is safe should you attempt to rescue.
When's the best?
Ultra Dry.
I'm chief of Portland, Maine, and works actively to tighten gun licensing. He feels, like many police officers, that there should be a waiting period which provides time for background checks on licensed applicants. But mostly, he wants people to be aware of the enormous responsibility of having a gun in their homes, and more especially aware that children see everything and usually manage to get their hands on everything they see. That includes guns. Ralph Broccoli was sentenced to a federal jail term for interstate theft. He was released in 1972, then killed by an unknown assailant in 1978. Paul Salina was sentenced to 25 years for armed robbery, then given an additional 3-year sentence for assaulting a corrections officer in 1983. Robert Marshall was given a 25-year sentence for armed robbery. He was paroled in 1985. Federal Marshal Bill Scott, with more than 50 awards and medals in martial arts competition, is currently serving with the U.S. Marshal's Office in the Southern District of New York.
Hi, I'm Karen, an account executive at WB20.